All right, everyone. I think we got all our panelists here. I want to thank everyone for joining. This is now our second HigherEdAV webinar. At least this time it didn't freeze on me. So last time, it froze on me and I had to restart the whole thing. So at least that didn't happen. Now we just have to figure out how to, get everything working and moving and all of that stuff just right. So that said, everyone, welcome. We have a unique webinar today. There's been a lot of talk, and this actually got inspired by conversations on James King's Slack and the back end of HETMA, talking about XTEN. Everybody has heard of it. Many of you have attended, the various webinars that have been given on it. Some of you have done demos, and just really wondering how it fits in with your normal, processes. A lot of people might use different tools already for designing their systems or doing proposals, and so we thought to put this together in order to say this is what does it look like in practice rather than just being a commercial for XTEN. Sorry guys, not besides just being a commercial, we're actually going to show how this can apply to the higher ed actual use case. So we've got Chris Dechter here from University of Wyoming. Will you just tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Okay. My name's Chris Dechter, University of Wyoming. I believe my title is Manager of Instructional Technology, which is the state title, but yeah. I'm the AV guy. We do AV stuff. We have classrooms. We have 300 some spaces. So I do the same thing the rest of you do. So this is really going to be a presentation coming from one of you. And so I really want, it to be an interactive kind of back and forth. So throw your questions in as where needed. I'm happy to address them.
Yep, exactly. So he'll be going through kind of how to use the tool from the design, building the project out point of view. And I do encourage you to use the chat, and even more important than the chat, because it's harder for us to watch, use the Q&A. If you have questions, we want this to be interactive, stop us anywhere along the way and throw that in there. And then we have from my team at USC, who will be talking about how to kind of build the proposal side of it. We have Raj Singh. Raj, oh, yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Well, thank you, Joe. Nice to meet everybody, and I'm excited about this. I'm Raj Singh. I am with USC, and I manage the design and engineering team here at USC. And we have a combination of spaces spread across two campuses, with our main campus here in downtown LA, as well as our campus, health science campus, across the other side of downtown. We've used XTEN, we like it, and we're happy to be here and share what we have learned.
Yep. And Raj gets bonus points for calling in while on vacation. All right, so bonus points for that. And there you go, Atkins. I enabled guest chatting, so we should be good. And then Chi Hang Lo, please tell people who you do.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, my name is Chi Hang Lo. I'm the AV IT Solutions Architect from USC. So I'm happy to share our experience, how we started deployment, and also transition from other tools to XTEN.
Awesome. And then, of course, from XTEN-AV, we have the power guys. So Sahil, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, thank you for being here, and I'm very excited to be a part of this. My name is Sahil Tingra, and I'm the co-founder of XTEN. Me and Viv both are co-founders. Viv will probably give us an introduction. I am the software guy in this, building this platform. Viv is the AV guy. A little bit about our company. Started off 2017 stealth mode, launched in 2019. Have gotten a lot of love from the customers and users. The platform has been very much customer feedback driven since we launched, and it's been a great journey so far. I don't want to take too much time with the intro. Over to you, Viv.
Yep.
Well, yeah, thank you so much, guys. My name is Viv. I'm the other co-founder at XTEN-AV. Big thank you to Joe for doing this. Chris, Chi, Raj, all of you guys are rock stars. Thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate this. And a big hello to everyone who's in the attendees. So I can see the list. I just say some names: Greg Rafal, Erin Meher Mohan, Edward Brown Davis, Dale Seabrook, Christopher Ali, Fleming Atkins, Ed Lynn Tatum, all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. We're trying to make this a really, really good session, a worthwhile session for you guys to join in. And saying that, if you guys in the chat can just drop in where you guys are coming in from, that'll be great. It's always good to know where people are located. I know a lot of you are joining in from outside the US as well, so it'll be nice if you can just drop in chat where you guys are coming in from. And super excited. So over to you, to Joe.
All right. Yeah. So thank you guys for putting this together. Like I said, it's interesting, my history of XTEN, and I think like a lot of people, I signed up really early for, an initial look at it. And I was like, okay, well, how does this thing work? And how does it fit in what I'm doing? And, and it was a great design tool. But now as I start to look and I look at what you guys have done over the last 3 years, it's amazing, and the things going on. So we are going to talk about, like, to me, the proposal tool and things like that, and we'll give a little bit about that. It's the newest edition. So as people know, this was scheduled for about a month ago, and we moved it out a month because you've actually brought a huge new aspect into the tool. So we were going to get to that, but at first, I'm going to turn it over to the man himself, Chris, to take everyone through how he uses this. The tool. So there we go.
Good. Yeah, thanks, Joe. So, and correct me on this, we're doing this on the fly here, but when we talked the other day, I'm going to focus on everything but the proposal side of things, because I think your team is going to cover that. Okay, great. So I will say, if you guys have questions, please put those into the chat. Or actually, put questions in the Q&A. That way we can track them. I keep forgetting about that. But yeah, drop them in there. I'll look for that stuff. I'm going to walk through the process that I use in XTEN. I live and breathe this as far as all my management side of things and design and engineering. I'm happy to address anything that comes up if I don't cover things or if I gloss over things, because how much can you do in 15 or 20 minutes? I'm not going to cover the proposal side of things, although I do use it for proposals. And I can show you some of my completed proposals. I use the older version of that. I've not used the new XDoc feature, and I think Joe and his team are going to talk about that specifically, so I want to leave that to them, because I'm sure there's lots of neat new features in there that I have not used yet, so I want to learn about that too. So let me set up screen sharing. Joe, I'm not cool enough for screen sharing. Can you make me cooler?
You're not cool enough for screen. Let's see. Advanced sharing options. Hosts and panelists. There we go. You should be able to now. Tell me if you can.
Set this up.
Joe, you're on mute.
All right.
I can read his lips.
There we go.
All right.
I'm on mute. Such a rookie move. Man, okay.
Yeah. All right, let me move some windows out of the way. I'm doing this on 2 different monitors, so if I look over here, it's because that's where my stuff is. All right, so this is the XTEN dashboard. You're probably all familiar with this. This is my XTEN dashboard. So this is my stuff. These are live projects. These are things going right now. I can click on any one of these and delete stuff, and oh my God, don't do that. Anyway, I'm going to walk you through a couple of things here just to show you how I use it. Now, I will preface this by saying I come from working in D-Tools for years, so I come from that side of things, and I basically tried to replicate my exact same workflow in this. I got very close, so that's worked well for me. So when I start a new project, in fact, we had one just come in today. We had a brand new building just open on campus, as many of you have, and the first thing they're asking is, can we change stuff in our brand new building? So we have some new projects in a building that is less than 60 days old to change some stuff. It's the life of AV. So when that sort of thing happens, the first thing I will do when I start a new project is I will go in and create clients and contacts. I like to track all that stuff. So if I go into my accounts here, so I break down by, if you notice, I break this down by campus departments. Let me show all of them because there's more. So every time I have a project come in, I set all this stuff up by the department so I can track all future projects with that department. So even though I may just be doing a conference room for one of them, maybe down the road I'm doing a training room or some signage or whatever it is, but that way I can track all that through those. So I'm treating each department as kind of like from a commercial standpoint, as a client or a different company. So within those, then I will have, let's just pick one of these. We'll go into our Hop School of Environmental Sciences, and I have only one client there, but I will then set up contacts. So depending on the projects, and as many of you at institutions know, you may have one department, but you may have multiple people within that department you're working with on a different project. This training room or this conference room or this classroom maybe, have a project champion who's one person, and the next one may be somebody else. So I will set all that up based on who the actual point of contact and who the project champion is for the individual project itself. I do this first because I found that if I try to do that as I'm adding, it wants to know that information. So I'll set it up first, and then I can assign it when I go into the projects and create that. So, and the guys at XTEN have done a great job of showing you how to create projects. I don't necessarily need to go through that process. Because part of what you want to see is all my projects in here. And let's go to all projects. And let's expand this. So I have everything that I have done over the last year and a half is floating in here. Notice there's only one just me, but that's me because I'm the one doing it. And so I work through all this stuff. Let's pick the one that's actually in flight right now. Let's go down here, see if I can find it, to the, I just saw it. I scrolled past it. To the President's Suite. So we're doing the President's Suite, President's Office, boardroom, conference room, all that fun stuff. So we have all these projects within the President's Office. I set them all up as different designs. I can treat them separately, but it does hold to an overall budget for the project itself. It holds to everything under that bucket. Kind of keeps it all organized and all together, and that way when I do bills of materials and things, it all comes out of that. Now you notice here, this is also just a cool feature I do want to point out as far as the versioning, as far as different things. You notice that we had some down here from a year ago and some up here that are a little bit newer that have QSC at the end because somebody had to dramatically shift what sort of gear he was getting. So you can have multiple versions of things. So the nice thing about that is I could take the existing design, say duplicate it, go in and modify the new one, change out the parts I needed, but all the rest of it stayed. The design drawing stayed, the bills of material stayed, everything stayed there. So I didn't have to build that from scratch. So very useful. And also being a university client here, we're all familiar with the idea of value engineering. You may come back to somebody and say, your space or your project is going to cost X, and they're going to say, great, we have about half of X. What can we do? So you can take, and if it's up to me, I will then replicate that design. I will say, make me a new project new design within this project, a new space, and then I will modify that so I can keep the other one as reference, because that is super handy to be able to reference multiple versions of it. I like being able to do that. And then, of course, you can export drawings and designs and things just for the one that you're currently using. So anyway, I will go in here, and I'm going to click the edit button in case we want to move stuff. But here is our space in the President's Office. So we have our bills and materials, and this is all stuff I've created so there is the XTEN library, which you can bring in stuff as you search for things that comes up there. I'm sure XTEN has demoed that many, many times. I like to create my own blocks. I like to create my own products. I like to do that all myself. I've got that process down very fast. I'm very good at it and can crank out brand new products in probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. I can do it, but I can do it my way, to my specifications, the way I want to do it, because I kind of have some particular ideas on that.
Chris, I want to stop you there.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've had the conversation. Talk about why you do it yourself, even though there is a great, library already there. Why do you take this? Is it so that you can, fast pick them, or go through your process there?
Sure, that's a good point. So I was just doing this yesterday with in fact, I will bring up the product. This is the product I just added yesterday. This is one of the QIO devices from QSC. So I went in and modified this. This is all my live data, my pricing, all the rest. I just added this one yesterday. I created all this from scratch because either A, it's not in the library, or B, what comes in is not exactly the way I want. So I've noticed, for example, model number and part numbers not always exactly correct. Sometimes the description is the description you get from the manufacturer, which is very verbose, and that description shows up in my bills of materials. I want the short version of that. I want the boiled down version of what that description is. This is in this case, an audio expander with 4 mic line inputs, period, end of story. Beyond that, the clients don't care. I don't care. I don't need all the marketing information that comes from QSC on their fabulous little devices. I like to specify that the rack units are correct. Not always the case. This one is wrong, and hopefully the guys are working on this. I know there's some work towards doing 1/3 and 1/4 with rack unit devices, which would be super awesome when that happens. I can fake a lot of it right now, but the undocumented secret, by the way, 0.5 for half rack units works every time. Just a little quirk on that. When you move those around within rack elevation, sometimes they expand. You have to be a little careful, but you can make it work. I like to ensure that the image link is correct, that it's specifying that's the image that shows up here. This one, actually, if you want to change, just looking at that. I want to ensure that the specs. So sometimes these will go to PDF. Sometimes I will have them just go to the product page, because sometimes that's what I need is the product page, not the actual specifications. I want to verify this is all correct. I want to customize my dealer pricing, which I have wrong. There we go, fixed, because I know what that is. And most importantly, I want to customize the IO the way I want. And I'll show you that. So this is the actual IO. Critical little thing on the IO thing here, this redraw. So I can screw with this without redrawing everything. Careful when you click that or unclick that. Sometimes I like to label these. My preference is to label these the exact way that the exact way it's labeled on the back of a product, because although everyone on this call may understand what a mic or line input is, it might not be labeled that. It may just say input 1, 2, 3. I want to label it accordingly that way. I have very specific requirements as how I want to see that label look, that sort of thing. So I also will goof with the input and outputs to move it to other sides of the block. So when you're actually laying it out, and I'll show you this in a minute, sometimes I cheat and run my schematic connections around the block, and sometimes I want on the other side, so I'll move them to the other side back and forth. So anyway, I do generally go in and create all these myself. Sometimes I will start with one, but sometimes I find it faster to just create it from scratch and do it that way. So almost, I would say probably 95% of all the devices in my library right now are ones that I have created, because frankly, I just got real good at it in a previous job. So
well, I love it because now it speaks your language, right? It just says,
yeah,
what is it you want.
And if there's a goof, which I have done, that's my fault because I made it. So I'll bring that up here. Just in general, by the way, one thing I do like about this whole package is that it's web-based, cloud-based, and so I can just open multiple tabs of stuff. So these are the last few things I just created here. So I did put a price in on this one because I own this. This is an existing piece of equipment I'm going to reuse it from the system. I left it at 1 penny just so I can track that there was a previous thing in there. We're not necessarily charging the client a penny, but that allows me to track it in the accounting side of things.
That's great. There's a question here. Is the custom changes available to all users when a change is made? I don't know if Vib or
that's a good question. Is there a way? Yeah. Can I share out my blocks, or does this go back to the cloud, or what happens to that information?
So if it's part of your library, which it should be if you're making a change, then it's available to all the users within your organization who have common access to that library. So it's called My Library. It's a common library to all the users within your organization. So yes, so short answer is yes, it's available to everyone, but within your organization, not to everyone on XTEN.
Is that a roadmap thing or something you guys are looking at for the ability for us to share that back out to your central library or something, or is that?
Yeah, we've looked at that before, but then it becomes really painstaking because everyone is making different changes to have something standardized, which everyone could use is the goal here. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I will say the one other thing there regarding the standardizations, I do that too. Sometimes there's ports on devices that I will never use, and I will just leave them off or I'll delete them. I don't need that port there, sort of thing. But it's there as an option. So.
Right.
Love it.
Anything else related? So Atkins did ask the question, do I start with the library and edit it or start from completely blank? I would say 90+% I just start with blank. So for me, I'll go back here. Add custom item, and it's literally whatever you want. And most of the stuff you're looking for is in here, from the most esoteric stuff. Let's see if I can find something new here. So Visionary Solutions, there it is. It's already there. Just start tagging all that stuff in there. Away you go. By the way, cool stuff they make. So I have a whole bunch of stuff I have to add in this week from Evert. So I will go through and create those and drop them in and go through the whole process myself. And that way they'll all be in my library. So that's the process I use for blocks. And I will say the other thing I did, and what I'll show you here in a moment when you see it, my blocks are very, boring, maybe. They're kind of just white, big white rectangles with black text, because that's what I'm used to looking at. But that can all be customized, and you can design them however you want and make them look the way that makes the sense to you. So if you have preferences on that, and the cool thing about it is, especially if you're establishing a standard for your institution, you can make them look the way you want and then leverage that across all your projects moving forward, so people start to get to know what those look like. So same with labels, cable colors, that sort of thing, all sorts of connections here. So Anyway, so this is project, this is a live project. I will open Xdraw. I do appreciate that they warn you every time. Hey, you're about to go in here and goof with your stuff. Are you sure about that? Yes, I am. Also very good about, hey, you just changed a bunch of stuff. Are you sure you want to close that window? Because some of us have done that without paying much attention. So anyway, so this is the live project for the live drawing for this project. It's quite large. You're not going to see everything, but notice my ugly, boring blocks. And this is just kind of the way I lay out things. I like to do things by groups. I like to do things by physical location. So the display wall, the credenza, the table, I like to color code things because it looks good to me. All the cable colors and cable labels are my creation, customized to me, just because this makes sense. I'm actually probably going to go back in because as AV is moving to IP, I'm probably going to go back in and create multiple versions of different types of LAN protocols. So right now you can see that some of these are identified as LAN and some are QLAN. I need to clean that up. That's on my side of things to be better about identifying. It's not just, DAN for Dante versus LAN would be LAN traffic, but that's actually AES67 traffic. I need to fix that. But you can specify that on the blocks when you go through and say what sort of traffic is coming off of that port, and you can be very deliberate about it. Really depends on how granular you want to get. I dupe all the ports on network switches too. Another thing, Joe, to your question about why do I customize stuff, I like to show network switches with double the number of ports so I can do it back in both directions on here. It just helps for general layout, but also helps me kind of conceptually, am I sending traffic to or receiving traffic from devices? I find that helpful. Anyway, so the other thing I've done, super big hint here for the guys at XTEN. I know you're working on the multi-tab connection capability is there. I'd love to see the ability to do that on the same tab. So I will break connections here and say that this is a power connection coming off of my PDU. I created this little guy. I will drop this connection here, so this connection only goes to this little just circle with a label. But that's identify as power 101. I identify the device it's going to, and then if you go to that device on the same tab, there we go. There's my power 101 coming from my PDU. I find that super helpful to clean up my own drawings, so love to see that as a feature. So that's
right,
what those little circles mean.
That makes sense, right? I mean, we should be doing it right away. I don't know why we haven't done it yet because it's a simple thing because we already have that in the multi-tab functionality. So
I figure it's probably in the roadmap
up.
somewhere because you can do it in the multi-tab, but not on the same tab. So I'm sure there's a process for it. So
sure.
Same with power. I'll show power connections. I'll show my data connections where I'm using that. But that's generally how I do a layout. Hopefully you guys can see all that. The colors mean something to me. The irony being, of course, we all know that someone's going to print it out in black and white. So make sure stuff is labeled accordingly. So this is video, this is HDMI, etc. So we know what that is. I just got added in the wrong spot. Look at that. This random block here. Amazing. So there we are. Any questions, I guess, on the drawings while I have this open? Oh, title block. So I created my own title block. You can do this. So it looks really cool when you print it out. It's got your branding on it, whatever you want there. You can label things however you want. You can identify who did it, when you did the stuff. That date's wrong. That's actually that's 2022, not 2021. Other cool thing here, little secret thing here, because everything you add in the everything you have in the bill of materials that shows up will show on the drawings, even if it's not necessarily something you're like connecting stuff to. I create a big white block and hide stuff. Oh, look at that. There's stuff back there. Don't pay attention to that. Sometimes I will do that. I have a bad habit. I don't know about the rest of you guys. I have a bad habit of ordering multiple options for things or multiple pieces of gear, or maybe I have some extra stuff, things like power or rack shelves and things like that won't necessarily be part of every design, but I'll want multiple pieces in there. So sometimes I'll hide that stuff so it sticks with the design. So
yeah. And Atkins has a question here too on that, and I'm going to make it a two-parter. I'm going to add on to it. It says
you said never ask two-part questions.
I know that's my rule, but I break my rule every time. How much time did it take you to get to this point on the drawing from what XTEN gives you, not counting customizing blocks? And I'm going to add on to that because XTEN's known for also being an AI-based, it'll draw it for you. So how much do you use that, or have you completely customized? Where is there a balance in there? So I'm going to just kind of take that whole thing.
So I'm going to to Atkins' exact question, how much time? I don't open up this particular one. I'm doing this deliberately. This is because it's a work in progress. This one is not done, so you can see kind of where I am on it. This I started yesterday. The day, like, where is it? So this one I started with Pencil CAD yesterday as I was just kind of brainstorming how I wanted to do it. And this is where I am on it now. This did not exist yesterday at 2:00 in the afternoon. So this is a pretty decent size new auditorium space.
Wow, that's crazy.
Lots of stuff going on here. Doing surround sound and all sorts of crazy processing, which I'm still kind of working through. But as I do this, this will be cleaned up and it will be more colorful and pretty and laid out, et cetera, et cetera. But this so far I would say I spent 30 minutes on today and maybe 2 hours yesterday. I'm 2.5 hours in on this, and that's where it is. I'm probably another hour away from finishing it. So auditorium with lectern gear in the rack. I've got, this is a weird mix. You guys are gonna love this one. So I got Biamp to Sierra Lux driving multi-channel audio down to a surround sound processor, which I'm looping out to multiple speakers there so we can do surround. So it's all over the place. But I would say this is probably 2.5 hours in. So Atkins, to your question, you will get faster as you go through it. If you're just doing a basic conference room or a couple endpoints and a single display sort of thing, probably take an hour, if that. It depends on how detailed you want to get on doing things like what I do here, which drives some people nuts, is I want to make sure that all the labels are the same distance from the end of the connections. So I will assign one of them, pick them up. So you notice these are kind of all over the place. I'll clean that up by assigning one and going through and then arranging them so that they're all aligned, because it bugs the snot out of me when I see that, like these over here that bother me to no end. So all my process is literally to move these over a little bit, give me a little bit of space, pick these, arrange, align, center, boom, done. I will do that on every one of them to make sure it looks clean when I export that and send it to whether it goes to my team for an internal project or whether it goes to a contracted integrator or whether it goes out to bid. So some of these will go out through our public bid system for capital projects, and I want to make sure that it is clean and arranged and identified.
So Chris, I have a question.
Sure.
So for the labels, are you doing the labels manually, or are you using under extra settings the standardizations which are there?
These are extra. So if I do another one down here, just add another connection coming off of here, it will automatically label as another audio connection 15. So yes, good point. Yes, you can set this up. So I specified I want all audio. So when I build the block, I specify this is an audio versus a mic or line or whatever I want. I specify the color. I specify how I want it done. Let's say this is an A for an audio cable. The protocol is general audio, which for me means line level audio. Could actually be mic in this scenario, but I know it's line level. And then it tracks by number. So this is the 15th one I've added. So no, I don't do the labels manually, but I want them to all line up because it bugs me visually.
Right.
To do that. So.
Yeah. So to that point, that saves time because you're not doing labels and colors manually, so you can pre-configure it, and that's probably save you a lot of time. Yeah.
Right. And one of the nice things about having it do the labels, good point, thanks, Viv, is that when I go into my design docs, which is where some other cool stuff is, and I crank out the automated cable schedule, see if this will view in. It's going to look wrong, but I haven't cleaned it up yet. It then tells you what the source device is, the destination port. It will identify that this cable one, audio cable one, is going from the surround sound processor to this amplifier, connecting which port it's going to, source port, destination port. Now, some of these are broken because of the way I've done it. I will go back and fix that in Excel. But the nice thing is it does crank all this out automatic for. So, like I said, because of the way I break those connections using those on-page references, those little circle things that I do, it doesn't track that because from the standpoint, XTEN doesn't know, XTEN doesn't know where this cable's going. It has no idea that QLAN goes from this port. This QLAN cable goes from this port to this circle, and that circle's not a device. I made that up. But when I do that export in the Excel, I can then go in and it's on adjacent lines. I can just merge those, and it takes me about 3 minutes to dump all that out. And then it does make those connections manually. So I hand that off to an integrator. Here's my labels. Here's my connections. Here's my cable schedule. It's all easy to follow.
Yeah. So. I love that. Just a couple of things in the chat. One, Dale has a quick question. Do you have a cable color legend, or is it just is it just in your memory? You know what it means?
So it's not a legend on the page. There's a legend in the settings. Guys, where am I going to find that? That's under.
Yeah, if you go under your name on the top right, you will have the extra the settings. Yeah.
So I can show that. Yes. So good point, Dale. And the reason it's not on the drawing, A, I need the space, and complex drawings need the space. B, a lot of people print them out in black and white, so the label itself will identify the cable. It's a DP for display port. It's HDMI for HDMI. It's odd, in my case, odd. You could call line, whatever. For me, that means line level audio versus mic versus whatever else versus speaker. And if I go down to extra settings and I go to my cable and signal settings and I go here, this is where it does break down. So these are all the ones I created. All these I said that I want them all to be orange with 2 exceptions. USB is purple because USB is purple to me, and a lot of our video is actually over USB. It gets a little weird to think about that. Fiber could be video over fiber, but I want to consider that blue, which for me is networking. So the fiber's network, but it's just how I have that structured. But then I create the cable prefix, whether it's camera video, component video, DVI, DisplayPort. I can make as many or as few of these as I want. You could have an entire system which just uses one called video, but I would hope at a certain point you would specify what that is, because you're going to hand it off to somebody who may not know what that cable is. So this is simply my method, completely customizable. If the colors are terrible and you want something else, completely up to you. Like I said, this is just the way I put this together. So
that's great. I love that. And also, I just want to say, for people who aren't watching the chat so that you can hear, Atkins had a great suggestion, and Vib, I like how you said you'll put this on the roadmap of being able to track the time based on the time, because I think a lot of, especially if we have in-house teams, if we can track that time, it helps us justify our staffing, right? Especially the savings. A lot of times our schools might think, well, you work in-house, that doesn't cost us anything. But to be able to say, hey, this project costs so much money and these hours, so that's a great idea. And then there's one more question here from Randy. Can you set your own wire numbers if you have many systems already with a set of specific wire numbers?
If I understand this question, and I'll defer to Vib and Sahil if I'm wrong, but I can go in and change any of these. I mean, it's just a textual label, so I can make this number 984. Now it's my understanding, if I've done that, it still tracks that as shit. What number was that? Whoops, number 8. If I add another one, it will be number 9. It knows that even though I've changed that label. But yes, I mean, I suppose to Randy's question, you could go through and if I need to start at a certain number, I could do that. Mm-hmm. But there may be a better process for it.
Yeah, there is another way which you could do is if you just click on under extra settings next to range, you can go under cable settings, and you can remove all the cable IDs, and you can renumber them whenever you want them. So that's just a quick tip. If I don't know if that helps.
If you remove that and then tell it to number them all, does it start again at 1, or does it start from where the last place it left off?
No, it'll remember based on the connections you've made.
Okay. So if I've made 100 connections, but I remove all those labels for some reason, then add them back, it'll start at 101. Is that correct?
No, it'll not. It'll start from 1.
Okay, good to know.
That's great.
So anyway, that's my quick and dirty 20-minute process of how I design this stuff out. I guess I can show real quick, though. I think most people have seen this stuff. If I go back in here and I go back to, sometimes I will do signal flow diagrams. I've shown these to other people at times, and I'll bring up one here, but signal flow diagrams are not accurate. My signal flow diagrams are more conceptual to show. In fact, let me go back into, it's here, sorry. No, or did I close it? I guess I did. Go back into that project here. No, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Oh, by the way, guys, quick suggestion. Is there any way we can get it to remember the last time I set it to 100 by default? Because I keep doing that. So. So anyway, I will always create a, oh, come on now. A general signal flow diagram just to, as part of the proposal. That's not the right one. Maybe somewhere else. I can show you in the PDF. Anyway, just brings up a very high level overview of the system. In fact, let me do that real quick here. I'm doing this on the fly, excuse me. Share. All right, so now you're looking at this thing. So this is one of my proposals. So here's a signal flow diagram that I'll do. This is not accurate. Please do not wire stuff this way. But when I hand this off to a client, I find this very useful to do. Oops, sorry. So here's the whole proposal, by the way, and I think Raj and Chi are going to go through this. But so proposal's nice because I can drop in my text, I can drop in my description, I can drop in, there's the bills of material that comes through, I can drop in my pricing, including labor pricing and all the rest, carries through. And then there's my signal flow diagram just to explain to people that all this stuff goes to the PC, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's the actual wiring schematic. I'll include all of that when I do a proposal to a client, but that's just my workflow. All right. Anything else we need to talk about in the next little bit? I know we want to leave plenty of time for Q&A, so lots of time for that.
Yeah, that's great. If anyone has a question, throw it in. If not, we will jump over to Chi and Raj. So a little bit about this from our point of view. We were a campus that used a competitor, and we ended up switching because one of the things that we do at USC, and I think a lot of y'all do too, is one of the issues we had was making sure that our outside integrators or third parties, while we kind of look at things where we own both ends. We own the design and kind of an architecture side, and we own the support side. It's that middle, and how to make sure that our integrators and those end up following our standards. And a lot of times there's other products out there that could do the design and stuff, but then they weren't great at doing the proposal and making sure you could do documenting. And then you had other ones that were really good at documenting, but they weren't good at being able to do that. So with the XDoc being added in and the proposal features being added in, that's really what made us end up swapping over, because now we have everything in one central location. So that being said, obviously, as you all know, that XDoc and all has been only about a month now since it's been out and really released. So we are immature in our use of it in moving everything over. But the process went smooth. So Chi, I'll let you go ahead, or Raj, whoever is sharing, and kind of talk about our thought process in how we do proposals.
Awesome, Joe. Thank you very much. So she's going to share a screen and go over a few things. But one thing I wanted to talk about and can add to what Chris was saying was the fact that, we do a lot of the design and the infrastructure and the architecting of the solutions in-house. So what that does is that necessitates the need to ensure that we're proposing and designing and capturing the requirements of the customer, and that's as succinct as possible. And also with regards to making sure when we do the proposal, what we're providing as far as Chris showed us, we do the general overview. We have floor plans that we look at as well too, and we provide and where things sit. And we'll kind of go over some of that, what that looks like. Our rack elevations that are included as part of the proposal, designs that Chris talked about. One thing we did do that we try to simplify it as much as we can on our end. And what I mean by that is, so our types of rooms that we have are pretty straightforward. Like a type 1 room is general classroom. A type 2 room would be something that is like type 1, but maybe with 2 screens. And type 2A maybe with assisted listening services and a few other things. And conference rooms as well too. And then USC being a federated environment, we consult with a lot of different groups. And, these proposals are key in communicating those ideas out to individuals who may not be as AV-centric or AV-savvy. And we'll take a look at that. So one thing we have here is we have an example of our type 1 classroom. And we'll cover that. Before we go into that, there are some questions that have been brought up I don't know if you want to answer those right now since we're in that mode. So I think Chris, the first one, let's say,
Is it? Yeah, so it's here. From Atkins can answer it later, but Atkins, you get it now. If either USC or Chris are using it as your only CRM, we have switched to making it our only CRM. Once the tools got combined, we didn't have a use for needing multiple anymore. Again, we didn't have it that way. I know, Chris.
Yeah, so for AV projects, for specific, I would like to do a new project or upgrade a room or change a space or do whatever. Yes, it is my CRM for that. So all of my clients, which are departments, and then contacts, which are the people within those departments, XTEN has all of that information, and that's the only place it lives.
And then Scott has a question, and I actually don't know the answer to it, so maybe Vib needs to answer, or maybe you all know. Can you import a DWG file to show where projector where TV projector speakers are to be located when presenting to VP or clients?
Yeah, I guess my question on that one is he talking about like plan view to just do general layouts, or I guess I'm not sure on that what he's asking.
Yeah, I think it's that only, and I think we can. That's doable.
Files.
Under floor plans, you can import DWGs, PDFs, PNG, whatever formats you have, and you can annotate on top of it, drag and drop products from the library, actual images of the products. And there's actually, when you started designing Xdraw, it asks you whether you want to start with a floor plan. So if you start with the floor plan, it will also, sync the products which you add in the floor plan to your BOM as well. So you don't have to manually do that, so that's there.
That's great. No,
exactly what you're showing now.
Yeah, so and then also when I'm doing the floor plan, we're going to also to lower the opacity for your actual plan. This will make your objects more easy to pop up. And then also this is my own practice. I also will put annotations here. So when I'm go through the components we're going to install in the classroom or different type of spaces, I can go through every single bullet point to make sure that we capture everything during the conversation.
Yeah, especially having this capability is very useful because again, most of our clients we deal with are visual and they understand, okay, this goes here, this goes there, rather than align diagrams. And we do that as well for the installation part and the engineers. But yeah, we can definitely talk through that as far as what does a proposal look like. So Chief, you're gonna walk through a standard type 1 proposal that we do.
Yeah, thank you, Raj. Yeah, so something very similar from Chris workflow. So we're going to create a bill of materials so that make sure that we capture all the necessary hardware that's going to implement to the space. And then very easy to transition to line join. So, and then I am not that fancy to color all the cables, but I'm working on it to make this nice. I'm a new user for XTEN, but in my original join, I'm using the Jota.io. It's very easy for me to transition to XTEN as well because they're using the same join engine. And then floor plan, I just show it up. So, and then it's more like to help me to identify all the key components location. I really want to highlight one quick features. It's more like the right layout. So we are very easy to, based on your definition of your objects, to populate it automatically. And also we have a standard type, because we, as Raj mentioned that we have a standard, right? So I can also put the standard information about their credentials. So when we're in-house, so we understand this already, but when we give it to contractor, they can, based on their specification, to do the installation.
One thing I do want to add before we move on from the automated rack layout sheet is the fact that, this has been very useful for us because before this, we were doing it in Excel, moving things around, or doing it in AutoCAD. So having the ease of this and being able to drag and drop has been key because proposals that we do is not only for our clients, but proposals that we do are also for the network team, for them to understand what type of network cable infrastructure they need to put in place. And having a rack layout like this is a good visual cue for them to know, okay, how many runs they need, where those runs going to go, how long of a cable run we're going to use for that. So that's been critical for us to make it as part of the proposal and submit it. And we can customize this based on who the audience will be as well too. And Chi will talk about that. Go ahead, Chi.
As Raj mentioned, that we can very easily do adjust, because sometimes when we're doing the design, just based on the idea what we need to put in a space, but when we need to update, when we go to on sites, we assess the situation, we may need to change the design. So the tools like this will give me a lot of flexibility. I can modify to match the actual situation. Also, make sure that when you make all kind of changes, make sure that you save your file. Sometimes when I'm doing this, it's not saved, and I close the screen accidentally, and then I need to go back again. But again, so this is very easy to pick up and update. So,
as far as web and feature requests for autosave on that, so while we're doing that.
Yeah. And also, I really love this cable.
It's actually already under works, so you should probably see it in the next few weeks. Yeah.
That's great.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I really love this cable schedule, so that we capture every necessary cable. Let's go to the proposal. So one of the cool thing is because we also transitioned from the other tools to XTEN-AV. So when we started, so they give us a lot of good template you can use. I just picked this one as my first one to create template, and also you can preview what you're going to get here, right? And then this is our quick version. Let me go back. So in order to create a proposal, you need to answer all kind of questions like the bill of material, the design, so that when you go here, and then you can create a proposal, and also you can create multiple proposals as you need. So because sometimes you may going to have different conversation with the client. So and then let me see. Don't judge on the numbers, because I'm still working on the bill of material. When you can customize the structure of your proposal, such as the cover page, the teams, scope of work, bill of materials, breakdown, drawings, and then also the term of condition. So as I just go very quick to go over everything here. So this cover page, so it's automated generated so that you can modify your version. And then this is the team. When I presented my client, I really like to show this page, because they not necessarily listen to me, but they will listen to Joe and Raj. Sure. So I work for them.
You use me, Chi? Oh my gosh.
I use it more all the time. All right. Where I'm at. Yeah, okay. Scope of work, you just document what is the scope of work. And also I like they have a different way you can customize the way to look. So this is the bill of material that they will pull it out from the design what I put together. And also as Chris mentioned earlier, so the system based on equipment, labor to create a breakdown that's easy to navigate into the client. And then schedule, so you can do some basic project management here, so you can discuss with the client how to lay out your proposal. This one I'm still working on it because we have a very high level diagram, like a segment flow diagram to show the client. So, and then I try to implement the joins to the package, but I found that Chris had a really great idea. So he exported the PDF and then to attach the joins together. I will explore different ways how we can make the package more easy to navigate through to every single audience. And then in terms of foundation, so this is one of the key components for our design proposal. Because as Joe mentioned it earlier, so when we're doing the design, we sometimes we will do in-house, sometimes we will do for the contractor to do that. So when I give out the design proposal to the client and to send it to the contractor, so they will based on the the team and then the condition to pick and choose the hardware and also how to execute the work. So in order to control the result and make sure that they execute it correctly, so the term and condition will help us to give them very clear guidance. So what the expectation will look like. And then sometimes when they have questions, they can always very easily to go back to their information we need. And also, when their contractor is the first-time contractor, we also define all the key terms here. So that will help them to kind of streamline all the conversation we needed for the project. So
yeah, and I'll jump in there. Yes, this is 35 pages long. So one of the things and this was a big deal to us actually, and I don't know how many other schools do this, pay attention to really, I mean, this could be said, this is our standards written down in text form. It's our, find the blue M&Ms or green and brown M&Ms, whatever it is, look, because our systems, again, as you noticed, as far as the design, we're very, very standardized. In fact, there's one or two options. They're pretty packaged together because a lot of our systems are also cloud software server based. If we really could have almost our entire system just be one picture of a cloud and a bunch of stuff sticking, pointing to it. So where that becomes important for us is this terms and conditions document, right? And so that those people who come in and do work have to understand all of our network, they have to understand the quality we expect of the network, how they're supposed to put together, who the key players are, what we expect. We have it all the way down to the minute details of, this is the only piece of equipment that you can use. If not this one, here is one alternative. And if not this one, then here is a big old list of stuff you have to do that we're going to drive you crazy trying to, give me a good reason why you can't use X, Y, Z. And we really needed to do that because of the way we're set up, because we handle both ends. We might take this, our standard, and then turn it over and not really be able to see it for a while. And then when it comes back to us later, we have to make sure it's working according to, again, network standards, security standards, all of those things. So that's the importance for this document for us that we couldn't do before, or else it was just like we were handing over a terms and conditions document without the drawing stuff. So that was kind of our thought on that. I don't know if Raj Chi, you wanted to add anything to that.
No, I think that's a great point, Joe. And I think especially, because being AV over IP and being cloud centric, things like these have become critical because this has also helped us, these terms and conditions drive standards across campus. So now being in a federated environment, you have other groups that may do, different types of things, but as long as they use products that are embedded, pre-tested, and quantified on our systems on the USC network, we don't really care how many displays a room has as long as it's using a standard that we've adopted, how many control system it has, as long as it's working within the parameters. So this has been key and critical, and that's why a proposal document like this is even more important. And the fact that everything you're seeing here is being generated automatically from the work that Chris showed you and Chi talked about right now. This kind of creates that automatically, and you can templatize these proposals as much as you can. So whether it's for a conference room, whether it's for a classroom, for an auditorium, for a special event space, you have so many different types of situations that you can get into in higher ed, given all the types of spaces we have. Having something that's repeatable and scalable is key, and having a cloud-centric solution like this helps us a lot with that, especially for someone like Chi, who's doing proposals all day long for different customers of ours.
Yeah, I'll say too, for those people who have to do a bid process, again, we have preferred vendors, we've pretty much trained them, but if you have a bid process, especially because we're standardized in our design, it does make it easier. We give the pricing, we already know what it is, we pre-negotiated that. But then when we have this document added on to it, and everything in this document refers back to stuff that's in that plan as well, and the way we expect them to do work. When they write back questions, we can tell based on their questions whether or not they ever read this, because they should never have to come back with a question unless it has to do with timelines, because it's so set up, and everything refers to it. It actually helps with our bid process, because if they're not going to read what I send them on day one, then they're probably going to be a hassle on, day 100, right? So, that I'll say. So I guess from there, I just guess that is we'll open up for more questions if people have questions and answers. Vib.
I'm sorry, I have a point to make here. So, one of the most important things with proposals we've learned over the years is how you make it accessible to the person who's going to read it. And, having to send, you mentioned about, it's very important, those terms and conditions, those 35 pages have to be sent, they have to be seen, right? But if you've got to, make it a PDF of those many pages and then upload it into an email, and the user has to download that, and then, that's a big task, and many times, big files, mail servers reject. So that's where XDoc comes in. You can send the entire proposal in a URL to your customer, and all they need is a web browser on their phones or on their laptop, desktop, and they have instant access to the entire thing, and without having to worry about downloading a heavy PDF, or if they wish they can, but I think that's one of the big benefits. It's part of how you can access easily. We actually have created a framework which we talk about in our proposal XDoc webinar. We call it as the TAPAS framework. How you can be more successful with your proposals. So first, T stands for tracking, A stands for access and accuracy, P is for presentation, and then S is for sharing. So all those things, we take care in our proposal. So any of you guys want to learn more about that, you can join in on our proposals webinar, from our website. But yeah, just wanted to mention that one big benefit. Yeah.
And just to add to that, sending a proposal via URL, how different it is from sending a PDF. You can never void or recall a PDF, but via URL, you can always do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it just makes it so much easier having everything cloud-based. And then again, I think saying is there's no way they can question it. Also, as many of you know, your docs can be fluid, right? So to understand that, especially if you're looking at a time of supply chain, our actual SKUs may change, or our certain requirements or security requirements may change from the time a building is starting to be planned and when it's actually done. Well, this allows the document, and I think Chris ended up, kind of showing it as his part, where you can keep your old versions, right? So we can send addenda to the customer saying, this has changed, this is now the new expectation, and they can access it that way, right? As opposed to you send them the PDF, you send them all this information early, well, then it's just some admin, maybe you lost your rep and a new person's coming in, and they're just searching for anything, and they're trying to put in something that's 4 revs earlier because it was an attachment in an email, right? As opposed to the live and working document. So that definitely has been able to help us and save us as well. So I guess with that, is there anything, I'll go back to Sahil and Vib, is there any aspects that maybe we have left out while I read Atkins's really long question?
Atkins wrote a novel.
I see that. All right, well, let's jump into Atkins's here. Long question. I'm reading it out loud different. Our workflow is probably similar to many when it comes to purchasing. We go through the decision process to get a bill of materials. Once the proposal is approved by the client, we take that bill of materials and split the parts amongst various vendors. They give us quotes, which often generates updated pricing. So I'm curious what the workflow looks like when using XTEN as your bill of materials and pricing guide, but you're varying vendors for each order or project. I'm assuming the purchasing info, like which vendor, what the specific quote number is, all has to live outside of XTEN. Do you just export the bill of materials to Excel and work from there when it comes to that point? So that was a 1-hour webinar, just reading that question right there. So who wants to take that? I don't know if even Chris, Viv, anyone could take that one.
Yeah, the easiest, I was saying the easiest way a lot of people do is integrated with QuickBooks, where everything from your proposal bill of material can flow there. and you're set up with all your vendors and everything, all the data will flow there. You'll raise your POs to your different vendors, invoices, all is handled there. So short answer, yes.
Yeah, we do have an integration with QuickBooks Online, and when people actually see it, many of them, they fall off their chairs because you complete a proposal in XTEN, and then right off there, you can create a purchase order to multiple vendors, or you can also create an invoice right from XTEN into QuickBooks to your customer. So I guess that's really, really powerful, that integration. And we're going to come up with more. We're working on Zero. We're working on Monday.com. Integrations is interesting because we do have integrations, a lot of them already, like QuickBooks is for accounting. Then we have HubSpot, Salesforce, Zoho, Solutions 360. And we also do custom API integrations as well. If you come to us and say that you want us to do a custom API integration, there will be a charge for it, obviously, but we are open to do that as well.
That's great.
And I'll just say from the university standpoint, because that would be cool to do all that stuff. I mean, and maybe to ask a specific question, universities don't move very quickly. They have entire buildings full of purchasing and procurement offices and departments, and they have all this structure. So yes, Atkins, you're exactly right when you guessed. At a certain point, I have to export take the bill of materials, and that becomes just an Excel file that I then strip additional data out of, because when that goes to bid, I don't want any information in there. And that then goes to multiple vendors, and it starts working through our procurement office. So it becomes a challenge at that point, because you still are back to, I have to wrangle different bits of data through different vendors, through the procurement office, through a bid process, or through a multi-quote process. It would be great if we could leverage some of the cool integrations that XTEN can do for that, but that would mean moving our entire university over to that sort of solution. So that's maybe fingers crossed down the road in 10 years, but you're right. At a certain point, you're going to have to export and go back to the old method of doing it. The good news is all the stuff that you're putting in here, you can get all that back out. So you can get that out into a format that can be sent to to vendors for bidding or whatever. And if they just want an Excel file, there it is. So.
Yeah, and same here as far as to add to what Chris is saying for us at USC. I mean, once, we will use XTEN to create the design, a BOM, the proposal, and everything else. Once that's done, it's exported out, and the client, whether it's a design build or whether it's a new construction with capital construction, once it's approved, then it goes into their system, depending on which client we work with. It's capital construction, it goes into each builder from there. If we're working with our everyday clients, and it goes into Workday for us, because we use Workday Financials, where it drives it from there. Now, that does mean that we can bring that back in to XTEN based on pricing and proposals that we've gotten. As Joe had mentioned, we have a list of approved vendors with pre-negotiated pricing, so that kind of helps us, because the pricing that we put in is the pricing that we get. We do get additional discounts as well for volume buying. But yeah, that'd be great, as Whip and Sal said. I mean, having more integrations with things like Workday, Monday, QuickBooks is key and critical, because that's only going to help it make more sticky and allow the information to flow fluidly from one system to another. I think Dale had some questions as well too. So Joe, as far as
yeah, so Dale says, do you share links to your design drawings in a room inventory for tech support purposes?
So on our end, our engineers have access to everything that we do as far as with regards to the designs as well as the parts list. So they do have access. They have more access than most people. So yes, the answer is yes, we do share that on our end.
Yeah, and I'll add that too. It also depends upon the level. If you're talking tech support like student worker, we use the very, very generic version like Chris showed. This box connects to this box, and here's a picture of that box, and here's a picture of the HDMI port that box that goes to. So we do dumb it down for that purposes, but as far as our tier 3 engineers and those, they do use that. I know, Chris, what about you?
I just export PDFs of the drawings and make those available on our shared drive for that. But yeah, that's something to think about. I honestly had never considered, like, if we have technician or engineer access and how they would do that. And yeah, because I mean, at a certain point, you can always go in and view stuff, but if you're not careful, you're now editing a live document, and someone could make some mistakes on that. But it would be great if everyone is up to speed and like, hey, we have to change out this product for this one with a spare, and I went in and updated the drawing, and we have a version of it. It's good. In a perfect world, that's all, that workflow would maintain all the way through. But we know that mistakes will be made because I make them all the time.
Yeah. Well, and in theory, it doesn't sound like, it sounds like a practice we all should do. That this tool allows for that, but we don't. But I could see that too, making sure that, especially as you have RMAs or things like that, and you're doing these to make sure that your documents are up to date. I know what Adkins had another comment. I'll add that we currently use our own custom database for bill of material through purchasing and process. It seems that XTEN would work well if you could add hidden fields to the bill of material like vendor. Can you add hidden fields? I don't play with it enough to know.
I'm not sure. I guess what he's asking there is, can you hide stuff from the bill of materials? I just when I export it as an Excel file, when it goes out to a third party, I just delete it. I actually have a macro I wrote in Visual Basic, because when you export that, you get all the information. You get MSRP, you get your special pricing, you get all the detail in there. I don't need all that. I also do some additional math on that as far as how I manipulate the labor hours, and I track that. By the way, guys, if we can track labor hours per product, I know I can do it through the what's that unique identifier, which I use right now for that. But anyway, but then I'll just delete the stuff that I don't need if it goes out. So I guess, Atkins, to your question, as far as hiding stuff, I delete it when I export, but I'm not sure if that's what you're asking.
I think he's mentioning in the chat that hidden meaning not customer facing, but more internal. So internal fields versus external fields. Yeah, if we can just kind of check mark some of those.
Well, you can specify what shows up in the proposal, so you can manipulate that, right? That's how I do it. So.
Yeah, and I think there is a lot of information on the back end, right? As you export, you're selecting what to export. So there is stuff that you want to keep internal. Even like an easy example is MSRP versus your build price, right? Sometimes, depending on your school, you might bill your customer, even if it's an internal customer, different, because you have to count for your labor hours or things like that, or however you do that. So your billing might actually be different. So you don't want to show them your cost versus, or whatever. So absolutely, what comes out in the proposal, it can be customized to what you want the customer to see, as opposed to what you have on the back end, which would be the case. I mean, if you think about it, if a third-party integrator was using XTEN, they wouldn't want us to see half the stuff that when they're sending us a proposal through it. So yeah. Jamil from UCF, good to see you on here. How do you deal with change orders in the system? Anyone?
So right now it's done via QuickBooks. So and there is a way by which you could also track via versions. You can track changes and create purchase orders in QuickBooks. So that's something we would like to do better, change orders. But there is a way right now. There is a workaround. But yes, definitely. Since we are not an accounting software, we don't really do change orders the way you would want them right now. We're kind of more focused on the design and the documentation side of the things. But yes, there's a way to do it via QuickBooks and using the versioning feature. So that's probably it. Hopefully in the future we should be able to do change orders as well.
Yeah, our quick and dirty way is versioning, right? You just update a version, and you either update pricing or you're updating the thing, and you're sending out of a new, and you just make sure you version correctly. Right. And I think Chris showed that very, very well of keeping those previous versions, right? So you can always track back to it, but it also comes later when somebody says, because we all get I didn't ask for, this isn't what I said or what I meant. Well, but this is what you signed off on. All 6 versions worth you signed off on, so this is what you get. So it helps with that customer management for sure. That's how we do it.
I actually have a question for Web and Sahil. So with regards to versioning documentation, and proposals as well too, something else that we do is we also do the control side as far as we propose, this is what your control interface is going to look like. And then documentation as far as providing control files that, that the customer may need. Are there provisions right now? Are there plans for it? If you guys can kind of speak to that a little bit as well. Or maybe something that we have missed. Maybe it is a feature set already available because you guys do add a lot of features on XTEN.
So are you talking about control documentation for control systems separately, or
The
you're talking about ability
GUIs,
to?
like GUI files as well. So as part of the proposal, we'll provide to them as when we hand off, or when we say, okay, I mean, we can do it via PDF and everything else right now and upload it, but or even like a repository of files that we can then provide as part of the proposal.
Well, you can upload attachments. I mean, is that what you mean? Or
Yeah,
I mean, you could do that, but you're right.
Nice,
you'd have to export from like VTP or design.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So that's I don't know.
You can upload attachments to a project that's there, and then inside a proposal also you can upload a PDF in a proposal.
Got it.
So yes, you can do that, but there is no like a separate feature of like you have the scope of work and other documents to manage the control interfaces, the GUIs and all. But yeah, I mean, you can upload attachments, save it as part of your project. Each user gets 5 GB of data storage, so you can upload any kinds of documents, including, except for videos, you can upload pretty much everything. And yeah, and inside the proposals also, you can do upload a PDF or an image as part of your document.
Understood. Yeah, because we do something like Figma for a user GUI design. So there'll be a whole thing created that we'll provide to the customer, and they can walk through that, click through it, and see what it looks like for them. And it's a link as well too, so we can drop that link, I guess, into the XTEN side.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'll throw. There we go. Oh, we were waiting for it. We were waiting for this question. You knew someone had to ask it because we just went through this. Greg's asking the important. What about the migration from said competitor into XTEN? What does that look like? I would say, Chris, you did it. We did it from said competitor.
I didn't migrate anything. I carried it all in my brain and then I typed it out. But,
you started fresh?
Hey, different institution.
Oh, yeah.
My DTools is still running 1,000 miles away if you want to go look at
it. In terms of migration, I mean, we can provide any help needed. We can build your library, your pricing, anything. We can do your proper onboarding. Yeah, and anything else we can do, we'll be happy to.
Yeah, I'll say too, when we moved over, we did it fresh too. But, we did some of the copy paste type of thing and some import export, but we just used the opportunity to kind of clean up. Things just get messy over time, so it was an opportunity to just start fresh. And because, as you saw, how quickly Chris was even able to create something, it didn't take long. Also for us, because our systems are very simple and standardized, it was an easy move to do that. Educational discounts. Absolutely, there are. Yes, there. And of course, as you saw the link in there, I'll put it in again. For those, I know you guys do a free demo. Also, everyone gets 10%. Go through HigherEdAV, and there's your educational discount. So off of the pricing. So I don't know. Do you guys, Sahil, Vib, do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we do the discounts via, whoever sign up with using the link which you just put in, everyone gets a 10% discount on the annual pricing for the first year.
Yep. And it is
and that's on top of the additional 25% we give for the annual pricing. Mm-hmm. So you're getting like a much larger discount upfront.
Yeah. So there's already the discount plus for higher ed, is that you get an extra 10%. So. Yes. If there's not other questions, I feel like I should have brought Adkins up as a panelist here. He should have been. He could have been like He could have been, Statler and Waldorf up in the, up in the balcony. And Muppets. Come on. Hopefully you all got that one. All right. Chris, this is to Chris. I'd love to hear once more how you start your process. You create a customer, you create a project space, then what? Straight to bill of materials, or with a wire diagram.
Okay, yeah,
AI tool.
so this is the ever popular question of, do you design by adding stuff to a bill of materials, or do you design by starting the drawing? I always start in the drawing. So I will I will literally open a blank document and start adding stuff in there. So you can do one of two ways. You can do the drawings in fact, let me bring this up and then I can show you. I'm gonna do this on this live one because I've been working on it while we've been talking. So Atkins, your question about billable hours, yeah, good luck with that. I'm gonna bill this one with 2 different people. Let me bring this up and do a quick search and show you how this works. Okay, and let me share my screen because it's cool that way. All right. So on this giant mess, which I'm still working on, it will look better when I'm done. Chill out. So if I need to add another device in here, so if I'm starting with a blank document, I can go over here to to product blocks. Just make sure. So it's the same options here. You can search within the generic library, or search within my library. What do I not have in here? I do not have an Epson projector. Well, let's put in an Epson. We got here PowerLight 530. Don't put this in an auditorium. And then that shows up right there. So there it is. I just added it in. So you can do it that way. I drop things in this way. However, I have a real bad, no, it's not a bad habit, just my habit is I like to work in this sheet. And so I will add stuff in here and then refresh the two. So these are tied together. I don't know if you just saw that. The little progress bar at the top of the screen just updated to pull in that newest device, which I added in there. If I reload this page, it will now show up somewhere in here. Oh, wait, I didn't save it. Save. Always save.
See, there's back to the need the autosave.
That's right. Then I'll reload this and there's my Epson projector. So I can add it in that way, or I can add something in here and then I go back over here and there's a little button here that says pull bill of materials changes. I'll click this and it'll bring those devices in. So we'll just say I need 3 more of these. Quantity updated. We're good to go there. Go back here, pull bomb changes. It refreshes, it adds in 2 more projectors. Why you would have 3 little projectors in a auditorium, but there you are. So to that question, it's really up to your preference. I am a fan of, I may do initial work in the bill of materials, just, whoops, breaking stuff here left and right. I may do initial work in the bill of materials, just adding stuff in there off the top of my head as I go, but I very quickly, I'm in the drawings laying stuff out because that helps me both conceptualize what goes where, but most importantly, the connections between the devices and to ensure I've accounted for signal flow traffic and all the rest. I will do that primarily in the visual side. I'm a visual thinker, hence my pencil CAD version that I showed you guys earlier. So I did this in my quick sketch during lunch one day, and then I come back here and drop it in the drawing. So I think that answers his question. Anything else? I think we're here for Q&A. So.
There we go.
And Joe and Chris, I'm not sure if I missed it, but did you guys show the collaboration feature?
I did not. I'm the only one using it, this way here, so I collaborate with myself. But I think Chi and Raj may have a better sense on that.
We just make Chi do everything, so our collaboration is slacking Chi and asking if it's done yet.
Yeah, I do share the document with my team because sometimes when their project is not is still in the process, I will only share it to certain key member until we share it to the big group. So after we get the final SOPs, I will share it to the bigger group. So this is how I'm using the tools to collaborate with team members for now.
Yeah, and as far as with it being cloud centric, especially design sites, so a lot of times what we'll do is Chi and I and Joe will share the design, look at it, review it, make changes on the fly, and even with the engineers on the if you have any audio questions specifically for certain spaces before we finalize and fine tune it. So that's been useful for us, and even the fact that it's cloud-based, we can use it across different devices too as well. We're not tied down to certain things because we have our team members, majority of it, almost all of it are PC-based, while we're using Mac primarily. And having a tool like this that kind of bridges the gap is key for us to be able to collaborate on that. Yep. And I don't know, Vid or Cyrus, anything specific that
Sorry, I'm
sorry, go ahead.
jumping in. I had the sign up for a demo. Here is your discount. Your discount code is in there, but you need a demo anyway. If you haven't used the tool, you want to go through the demo. Either way, but there's your exact code to get the extra 10% and get a demo. So it's in the chat now, the discount code and the demo code. Either way, just make sure you're with HigherEdAV, and they'll pass on the discount to you.
Yeah, just let us know, HigherEdAV, and we'll pass on the discount. That's no big deal.
Yep.
Looks like we had a question from Andy at OSU about for decentralized departments, what's the process look like for managing and sharing designs? I'm guessing what he's getting at is, and we did talk about it earlier, anything that I add under our organization structure shows up for everybody else. So if I create products or blocks or things in there, that shows up. I don't know if you can segment designs between different people on that and say only I have access to certain things, but I'll let Vid talk about that.
Yeah, so we have a structure by which you can create different groups within your organization as for different departments. And you can have common admins for those groups who will have access to everything. Or you can have individual access. You can provide individual access to people within departments as well. So that's part of it already. So if you have a large organization, you have different groups, different departments, you can manage all of that pretty easily. We have users from large organizations using up to 250 users across countries. And they use the same way, they've created different groups to manage the whole thing.
Yeah, I found out the group feature is really, really powerful because I can feature groups with different clients within the organization. I do have a question. So for the group users, so they can use a license, or they will be I just share a link to them to see the file.
Yeah, they don't need their own license account, right? So your groups, if I understand it right, they just you create the group so that you can separate out your customers, and then you share the link within that.
Okay.
And then that's it. Yeah. Chi's our super admin, so he sees everything no matter what,
Right.
So there we go. Dale has a question about recording. Will this recording get shared? I'm going to hope so. One, we're using Zoom events. I don't see the little record thing, and nor do I have an option to record. But that being said, I'm sending it from here into my OBS, and I'm capturing via that. So I will load it. It will be on HigherEdAV as well. It'll be posted there and through our HigherEdAV YouTube. So yes, whether or not it will be through this link that you signed up at, I don't know, but it will be at HigherEdAV probably by the end of the weekend, assuming that my recording took well. All right. Any last questions? This was a great conversation, everybody. So this was fantastic. If there's any last questions, let me just see. Great information. Thank you, everybody. I guess very last, let's just zip around really quick. And Raj, we tell people how people can get a hold of you if they have added questions.
Absolutely, Joe. So thank you, everyone. So you can get hold of me via my email at raj.singh@usc.edu or with my Twitter handle at rajsinghca for California. So Chi, go ahead.
Yeah, so same here. So you can contact me by my emails, chihang, CHIHANG @usc.edu.
Great. And Chris, how can people get a hold of you?
So I do all my stuff through Twitter, which hasn't been updated in like 14 years. So don't go to that Twitter account. Maybe one of these days I'll log back into it. Email is first initial, last name. So those of you looking at the screen, it's easier, but CDECHTER. Or you can find me on LinkedIn because there's only one Christopher Dechter out there. If there's another one, I will fight him. But happy to talk with anybody and share kind of my process on this. Good thinking, Chi. I'll put it in the chat there. Happy to talk through what I do. Like I said, I migrated over, but I'm kind of building from scratch on this and working as I go. And some people may have some other ideas. I like this idea of the we just talked about with potentially for student employees leveraging the simplified signal flow. That's actually a really good idea for general concept of how to explain stuff, because I end up having to whiteboard that out. But hey, now I'm going to share that out. So see, I'm getting ideas from other people too. This is great.
Yep, no, that's great. And then of course, for everybody knows, make sure you listen and subscribe to the AV Super Friends, because they actually get into the nuts and bolts of a lot of this stuff on their regular
Thank you,
show.
Joe. That's twice now I forgot to plug my own darn podcast. So AV Super Friends, avsuperfriends.com. We talk about nerdy stuff like this all the time. So.
Yep. All right. And then Sahil, Vib, how can people get a hold of you? And of course, plug XTEN.
Yeah, just go on XTEN-AV.com and you'll get an option to book a demo with either of us. You can choose. And if you just want to email us, I'm just dropping in my email. It is vibs@xtenav.com. And it's very easy for Sahil as well. Sahil@xtenav.com. We will really look forward to many of the people I see. I think we've spoken some of them already. And I'm pretty sure we'll speak to a lot of you going forward as well. So feel free to reach out. It's been almost a year since we've been focusing on higher ed, because we've kind of we understand there are certain pain points we solve for the higher ed AV teams. That's why it kind of became really popular within this segment. And we'll be very excited if you guys have any questions, would like to get on the trial and get a full demo from me and Sahil. So please feel free to do that.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Oh, and Sahil, any other last comments? I know he kind of gave the. You good?
That was it. This was very exciting, and I'm actually very happy that this happened, and looking forward to more sessions like this. Feel free to send any questions, and I think we should probably start a forum or something about XTEN, where people can share ideas, just like how Chris got an idea from you guys, and we got some ideas from Chris.
Yep.
So.
See, that was the best commercial you could have done, because
Joe, is there a link we can go to right now?
You could go to HigherEdAV.com, click the user groups, and you will see that 3 user groups have been formed. One of them that we just launched this week. It's almost like you were a pro. We are starting user groups. We've got 3 of them in there. These are forums for that we've put together at HigherEdAV for our key partners. So XTEN is one of them, and so I'll make sure you can join in. All you have to do is register. As you probably saw at HigherEdAV.com, we have revamped the site. We've got new things coming. We're offering a lot more services now, from job boards to a knowledge base. A knowledge base will get populated from everybody. We'll start throwing some things in there, how-tos. It just launched this week, so it's a work in progress, but there is now a user forum that we'll be hosting. If you have questions, you want to throw it in there. This is a great way to collaborate. And again, this is what makes our webinars different, and we host them in higher ed. We don't need to have commercials. We just get together and talk about how we use stuff. And so this was fantastic. Of course, you all can find me at Josiah Way on all the socials. And LinkedIn, you can find HigherEdAV at HigherEdAV on all the socials. And we will see you all again. We are doing this every month. We have a webinar series coming. We'll be hitting up XTEN again in the future. We'll have a lot of other partnerships coming, and I just encourage everybody. Some good stuff coming after the first of the year. We're doing a lot of live things. I'm here at Ed Spaces. I'm doing this from Ed Spaces in Portland. So you'll see a lot new events and things coming this next year. So hopefully this can be a great service for you all. Thank you. Hopefully you got a lot out of this, and visit the link, sign up, get your demo. Thank you all. And a special thank you to our guests and panelists.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.